that's fine. As long as
So
Krishna
you struck on the real point, Gulshan, and that the real cause of being able to detach and renounce is
yeah,
knowledge, is having
knowledge. Yeah.
knowledge.
This
And
is the
that's
one.
why bhakti, it said the two offshoots of bhakti is gyan and vairagya, knowledge
Yeah,
and
that.
renunciation.
Yeah,
And the knowledge leads to the vairagya, to the renunciation.
it's gyan
When we
and
have
knowledge
knowledge, then we
is
can let go.
gyan and knowledge is like a two side of the coin.
It
You
is the
can't have a
one thing.
one without other. If you get both, or you get none.
The
Once you
knowledge
get a
and the
jnana,
detachment.
yeah, when you get a jnana, you'll get viragya. It's just it's
Yeah,
two side of the
yeah.
coin.
So that's the result of knowledge.
Yeah,
Real knowledge is that you
yeah,
become detached.
that's right. Yeah, so it's no point of collecting. I was there in Melbourne for 4 days. I went there 25th and come back on 29th.
I was going to
And
ask you, how did that go?
yeah, it's good actually. I've got a friend and his wife and 3 kids, and then I was just reading some Gita shloka there for them. And the lunchtime when we sit down having a whole meal together. And I said, look, you know what? This is the real thing. And I'm trying to, but they're in a different mode. They've got 3 kids and their tournament happening. This kid has to go to basketball. This kid has to go to cricket. And then he's got a full-time job. His wife got a full-time job. And he's got 3 investment property. And he bought 2 brand new 4-wheel drive, 1 Maserati, 1 BYD, and showing all that. I said, look, man, there'll be one day knock on the door, time to go. On that day, it doesn't matter what you have. And then he says, oh, are you trying to scare me? I said, no, I'm telling you the truth. Why would I scare you? It's like, you see, where's the Queen Elizabeth, Queen of London? Under the 2 meter of the ground, food of the worm. Maybe her coffin made of the sandalwood. Mine maybe maybe Tasmania. Who cares? So why are you running
That's
all these?
actually, that reminds me of the subject we're actually talking about at the moment in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 10th chapter. It's mentioned in the list of qualities, mentioned truthfulness. We just started talking about truthfulness in the purport. And Prabhupada mentions that even if it's not very palatable, then one should speak the truth. So that's exactly like how you were talking with your friend. It's maybe not very palatable to be talking about death and that, but it's the truth.
It's the truth.
It's the
And that's
truth.
what I was saying. I say you're running around all these things there. And just sit down and think. Oh, I'm doing this all for my kids. I like, look, man, you give it a kid a $10, $1 million, makes no difference at all. Do you think when you die, they're gonna put that incense on your photo? Do you really know that? Or do you really any guarantee for that? Would you come and look at it? Either put incense on my photo or not? What's that? Whether give $10 or $1 million makes no difference. But it's like a detach. You do your duty, that's all. But you are waiting for the fruit, results. My son has to be performed in the cricket team in Australia. Mate, what are you doing? Anyway, that's
That's
his
his
life.
choice, yep. But you're giving him some knowledge, so that's good.
Yeah, that's right. But at the end of the day,
Plant the seed.
I went to a few of his friends, and then they were saying, "Oh, Gulshan Maharaj came." I said, "No, mate, I'm not a Maharaj." And they were hoping that I'm gonna tell something about Gita. I said, I'm just only telling what the Prabhupada says. That's all.
Oh, that's good. That's nice.
It's just
Maharaj.
yeah, but it's because they know I joined the ISKCON and I don't eat onion, garlic, and vegetarian only. So wherever I go there, and then they say, "Oh, you're the one." Okay. Tell me a little bit about it. I said, "Man, it's not like just to get you a flower from the garden and give you that. You have to be a right mode to listen. You have to empty your glass. Your glass is too full. No matter how much I can say, it won't go in because it's too full. So you have to empty the glass. Then you come, and then you will get some." I said, "Okay, how do I empty the glass?" I said, "Get this one." Go to the temple.
You're giving some good lessons to them. That's nice.
But I don't know
Very
if they're
nice.
going in or not. Maybe not now, maybe a few years' time, they're going to think about, one guy came there 5 years ago from New South Wales, Newcastle. He was saying something. Let me see what he's saying. Maybe after 5 years, yeah, there might be, might go to temple. Anyway, It's all right. Back to the Bhagavad Gita. Time is precious.
Okay, let's offer respect to Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Om Jnanatimandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Malatam Jnana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master has kindly opened my eyes with a shining torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances to his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
So we're continuing our reading of Bhagavad Gita from chapter 10 entitled The Opulence to the Absolute, texts 4 and 5.
Yeah.
So we've been reading the purport for a couple Thursdays, so we'll continue that. But we'll read the Sanskrit and then the English translation again, and then continue the purport, which will be from the paragraph, I think it says control of the senses. Buddhir jnanam samoha.
Buddhir jnanam samoha.
Shama satyam dhamma shama.
Shama satyam dhamma shama.
Sukham dukham bhavo bhavo.
Sukham dukham bhavo bhavo.
Bhayam cha bhayam eva cha.
Bhayam cha bhayam eva cha.
Ahimsa samatha tushtish.
Ahimsa samdha tushtit.
Tapodanam yasho yasha.
Tapodanam yasho yasha.
Bhavanti bhava bhutanam.
Bhavanti bhava bhutanam.
Mata eva pratagvitaha.
Mata eva pratagvita. Intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt, any delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of senses, control of mind, happiness, distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame, and infamy. All these various qualities of living being are created by me alone.
So what we're learning here in this section of Bhagavad Gita, which is going to be summarized in the beginning of the seed verses, which is text 8 coming up in a few verses. That's the first of the 4 seed verses of Bhagavad Gita, 10.8, 10.9, 10.11. Yeah, 10.8, 9, 10, 11. What's being summarized is that everything comes from God. Everything comes from Krishna. So here's a whole list of different things that come from Krishna. Everything comes from him. And the idea is when we realize that there's nothing other than God that exists, then the idea is that we'll surrender to God. Why are we not surrendering to God? Because we think we can be independent from God. We think we don't need God. But that's completely not true. We are completely dependent on him for everything. Without him, like mentioned here, he's the source of intelligence. So without him, we have no intelligence. You can't drive your car, Gulshan, without Krishna. You're not going to get anywhere. No, without him, we have no knowledge. I mean, without knowledge, we'd be like a rock. We'd just be like a stone, nothing like that. So every single thing comes from Krishna. So how much we're needing Krishna. Even more, we need Krishna even more than a baby needs the mother. You know how dependent a baby is on the mother, right? The baby, if the mother just abandoned the child, they're completely lost, completely gone. I was actually just hearing today in a lecture, it was shocking actually, Prabhupada, what he said. He was talking about some of the characteristics of modern day life in Kali Yuga. He said he'd heard from a disciple that it was particularly mentioned in regards to Japan, but it could be other places too. but he'd heard that in Japan, some mothers would put the child in a locker in the airport and lock the locker and then walk away and never come back. You know, so people would just smell when it started to rot. They'd
Decomposing.
smell there was something in there, and then they would break it open and find the dead child inside.
I
You know,
think
so just see what happens, you know, if something goes wrong with the mother, you know, then the child is completely gone.
she
But
definitely
this
had a
is
medical
just, you know,
condition.
the
Average
condition of
person,
Kali
average
Yuga.
human can't do that. You know, she must have medical condition. Average person can't do that.
I know, it's just normal for the mother to, you know, look after the children, obviously.
Yeah.
And the children obviously completely helpless, you know, completely depending on the mother. So like that, we're so dependent on God. If without God we can't do anything, we'd be like worse condition than even the child stuck in the locker like that. So, but how degraded things have become in Kali Yuga, and that's the result of turning away from God. You know, well, why would a mother do like that? Because she's turned away from God and become completely materialistic, completely atheistic, lost all of her good qualities, And to behave like that, one is obviously so fallen, degraded position. But this is a result of turning away from God, and we just suffer. Okay, so where we're continuing on. And, you know, and we might say, well, why bring up something like that? Why did Prabhupada bring up something like that? Why do I bring up something like that? But sometimes a bit of a shock like that can be good for us to push us back towards Krishna, And now we're suffering the results of a society that's turned away from Krishna, and we have so many bad things like that. Like, it was unthinkable, like in a previous age, for like, you know, the parents to like kill the children or something like that. Unthinkable. But now it's like a common thing. And of course, in terms of abortion, that's happening every day. You know, thousands and thousands of children are being terminated, you know, every day, you know, all around the world, you know, children are being killed by their parents consciously, you know, and just because they haven't popped out of the womb, people will say they're not living, they're not alive yet. But it's actually as soon as that embryo starts growing from day one, the soul is there. That child is alive like that. And it takes them, what, 9, 10 months to develop inside. But then they're not just a child once they come out into the open air. They're a child from that very first moment when the male semen meets up with that female egg like that. Then life is there right from the beginning. So yeah, that's how heartless so many people are in Kali Yuga, just for some temporary enjoyment, sex pleasure, and then they don't care about, you know, that if there's some unfortunate result of a child develops, then they have no consideration about concern about killing it like that. And then that's exactly what we're talking about in this one, because it's where we're continuing on control of the senses. Okay, so Deepa, do you want to can you find that bit? It's about the third paragraph.
Yep. Control of the senses means that the senses should not be used for unnecessary personal enjoyment. There is no prohibition against meeting the proper needs of the senses, but unnecessary sense enjoyment is detrimental for spiritual advancement. Therefore, the senses should be restrained from unnecessary use. Similarly, one should restrain the mind from unnecessary thoughts. That is called summer. One
Sha.
should
With the stroke above the S, shama.
shama.
Yeah.
One should not spend one's time pondering over earning money. That is.
Did you hear that, Jointy?
Oh dear.
Just joking.
That is a misuse of the thinking power. The mind should be used to understand the prime necessity of human beings. And that should be presented authoritatively. Gulshan, you want to continue? My eyesight's not very good.
Yeah. The power of thoughts should be developed in association with the persons who are authorities in the scriptures, saintly person of spiritual master, and those who thinking in highly developed sukham, pleasure or happiness, should always be in that which is favorable for cultivation of spiritual knowledge of Krishna consciousness, and similarly that which is painful or which causes distress in that which is unfavorable for cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Anything favorable for development of Krishna consciousness should be accepted, and anything unfavorable should be rejected.
Okay, there's a few things there. So yeah, when we talk about renouncing sense gratification, giving up sense gratification, that term is often used in Prabhupada's books, sense gratification. So, and like it's saying here, there is no prohibition against meeting the proper needs of the senses, but unnecessary sense enjoyment is detrimental for spiritual advancement. So when it says giving up sense gratification, that's what it means. You know, utilizing the senses more than what's required for one to survive, to live. So using the tongue to eat, that's sense gratification, but one requires to eat to live. So there's no harm in eating as much as necessary to maintain one's health, but what should be given up is too much eating like that. And actually, according to God, the quota for a human being is to eat vegetarian food. So eating more than just vegetarian food means eating meat is actually sense gratification. You know, it's one's just eating that for pleasure, for enjoyment, not for staying alive. Because actually all we need to stay alive is some fruits and vegetables and grains and dairy products and nuts and things like that. You know, that's what we need to maintain our health. We don't actually need to eat meat to survive. If one's eating meat and so forth, then, and, you know, drinking liquor and all these kind of things, then smoking cigarettes and so forth, that's just for sense gratification. So when it says sense gratification, it means unnecessary gratification of the senses, more than required. So there's no restriction on getting what you need, but there is a restriction on taking more than what you need.
That is comes to that gulab jamun as well? Because I only eat two, but in between the two, I don't count. I eat first and last. In between, I don't count. So that applies that same to gulab jamun as well or not?
If it's prasadam, not.
If it's
Well, then
prasadam,
it's a
yeah,
very
if it's
thin
prasadam.
line between prasadam, but like if you had a
Mm.
10 gulab jamun, come on, seriously, that's my,
You are
you know,
chastising
You
I
are
us.
love it. I love it. I love it. I completely agree with that. I love it, but I don't know where to stop. I know it's a prasadam, but
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you can just put your sugar level high and high.
Mhm.
I don't know where to stop actually.
Mm.
Well, anyway,
Yeah, no, even
it's confession.
no, that's I mean, I think we all run into these kind of problems that even with prasadam, I mean, but that's
Yeah.
good that we're regulating to only taking prasadam. And that is some control of the senses, that we don't just eat, you know, McDonald's and KFC and all these kind of things. So, or even from a, you know, regular restaurant or whatever like that, we just eat food that's prasadam, either that we cook at home or from a devotee restaurant or the temple or something like that. So that's a credit there. But even, you know, so you're having only prasadam if that's the scenario, and then you're eating too much of that. So is that a problem? I mean, in the beginning, that's actually recommended. In the beginning, when
Oh, okay.
someone comes to Krishna consciousness,
Okay.
because before they've made like a vow to just take prasadam, you know, to try to not give them any possibility to eat all nonsense unoffered food, bhoga, it's better if they eat too much prasadam. So Prabhupada had the principle of feed them up to the neck, kanti bhojan.
Yeah.
You know, so if anyone that comes, you know, give them full prasadam so that there's no space to eat unoffered food like that.
Sure.
So in the beginning, it's a good thing that people eat too much prasadam. But as we progress, you know, the devotee progresses, then hopefully automatically we start to realize, actually, I don't need to eat so much. If I eat more, what's going to happen? What do we realize? That I'll need to sleep more. The more I eat, I'll need to sleep more. And the more I sleep means less time for hearing and chanting and so forth like that. Harder to get up for Mangalarati and all these kind of things. I realized at a certain point in my Krishna consciousness that if I eat late at night, it makes it harder for me to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
And I don't feel so good in the morning. So what I decided myself, no one told me to do this, but what I worked out myself is like, don't eat a big meal at night. So now for many years, I hardly ever do that unless I'm going, you know, to visit some people or something, and I don't want to offend them or whatever. But I hardly ever eat at night, and that's just some progression I came to myself. So I don't think we need to make any rules about how much prasadam we're eating, but I think if we're serious in our hearing and chanting and our, you know, sadhana, then naturally Krishna in our heart, you know, will give us intelligence, that, hey, Abai, you don't need to eat 10 gulabs anymore. Maybe 9 is okay. You know, so then slowly 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
When on
And
a Prabhupada PN's day, when he make a kachori, I'm
yeah.
worse than a dog. You know, not me, the other as well. We're just trying to get hand on as many and kachori
I
you
know,
can get. That chanting I'll do later. Let me have the kachoris first.
Yeah. But that on a festival day, that's a
Allowed?
different scenario.
Okay.
Those rules don't apply because
Okay.
it's like a kind of spiritual ecstasy, you know, when you're together with all the devotees and it's a special festival and the
Yeah.
prasadam's being distributed. It's not like you're cooking them up for yourself all at home in the house. No, but it's a festival. And, you know, it's some holy day or something like that with the devotees. And devotees just become very ecstatic and very joyful, distributing prasadam. And it's a loving exchange. You know, it said there's 6 loving exchanges. giving charity and receiving charity, revealing your mind and inquiring confidentially, and then giving prasadam, receiving prasadam. So these are the 6 kinds of loving exchanges and mentioned in the Nectar of Instruction. So these things are not to be avoided. No, these are the things we should be doing. It's important. So yeah, on a festival day, that's okay to eat too much. I mean, and like in the early days, Prabhupada organized the Sunday Love Feast.
Yeah.
And there would be like 15 preparations, and you eat as much as you can of everything and like that. But they're not doing that every day. That was once a week on a Sunday. And the rest of the week they eat rice dal and chapatis and no
Khichdi.
sweets, no deep fried or khichdi or whatever, and porridge in the morning or something. So real basic food.
No,
I mean,
remember that article we read? It was not even that. They were eating so sparsely.
very sparsely.
Only
simple food.
one meal a day it was.
Depends on where,
Really?
but yeah, it depends on what they were doing.
Initially, this was very, very
Yeah.
beginning.
And it also depends on other factors like
It's
what
what
are
kind
you
of work
doing
do you
during the
do?
day? What work do you
Yeah.
do? Are you
If you do
lifting
farming,
rocks and
yeah, if you do
are you
farming
are you a
work, and
farmer
then
lifting hay
that you
bales?
need the extra meal, yeah.
Yeah, or if you're just pushing a keyboard, then maybe you
Yes.
don't eat more than
Yeah.
one gulab jamun,
That
But if
that's right.
you're a
That's right.
farmer, then you can eat all 10, no
You
problem.
can handle it, yeah.
Like the Punjabis, right? The Punjabis, they're
Oh yeah.
farmers and everything.
They're
They
Kshatriya.
have heaps of dairy products and
Yeah.
heaps of grains,
Yeah.
and it doesn't
Yeah.
cause any problem. But
Because the
if you're a
job they do.
pujari just waving incense around the whole day, then yeah, don't eat too much. You'll become very
Otherwise,
fat and
otherwise you'll become a pumpkin.
So yeah, there's a few factors.
I've seen we had that, what you call it? There was the one pujari was there, even Ramteg as well. And Sachitanya, just round. I said, Mad, what are you doing? He said, oh, I don't know how to lose the weight. I said, don't worry about the lose weight, just cut down in eating. You don't do anything. And then you just keep eating like that. I took him for a walk. I said, look, you know what? Your paycheck will be at the cart right up there. Your paycheck is up there, you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
So that's the only
Nice.
condition he can go up there. I said,
Okay.
Kalya Prabhu, put the paycheck up there.
Yeah.
That means they have to go at least
That's
go
a good
up
one.
and down, so at least gonna lose some weight.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so that's right. But he just he loved eating, nothing wrong with that, but no physical work.
So that's a bit of a diversion that ISKCON has gone on since Prabhupada left, is that previously devotees would only eat rich prasadam once a week. And now it's gone the other way around, that what we during the week is very rich and Sunday is like just basic stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And but yeah, that's not very good, So Prabhupada's management, I tell you, he was the most clever manager. Even in terms of keeping the devotees in good health and everything like that, helping them control the senses. And the other thing which is brilliant, see, the devotees didn't have time to eat too much because Prabhupada kept them working so hard. They had to go out and distribute books, go out and make life members, go out and distribute prasad, go on Harinam. They'd be doing Harinam like 8-10 hours a day. They had no time to just sit around and eat prasadam and all the gulabs and everything.
In India, the business management companies are giving the Prabhupada's example. They are the business coach and the business management companies, organization skill, they give it a Prabhupada's example. He said, listen from them, learn from them. How did you do it? He just went there for 40 rupees and then built up all this empire. How?
Yeah.
Just learn. They give it a Prabhupada example quite often.
Incredible,
I've seen that, yeah. So it's great. He was a great man.
Yeah. And devotees say that it's not that we didn't have desires for sense gratification, but they said that Prabhupada kept us so busy, we didn't have time to gratify our senses. And that was so clever that Prabhupada knew that especially they were all young, right? They're all young boys and girls. Their senses would have been pushing very hard, but there just wasn't any time because Prabhupada kept them so fully engaged in devotional service. So that's the secret. So, but unfortunately, today we don't have a leader standing over our head doing what Prabhupada did. So we basically have to do that. Oh, okay. Johnny's saying we have that, but the leaders themselves don't work hard. But yeah, sometimes you might do. But yeah, it's very rare to find that leadership that keeps you fully engaged in devotional service. So yeah, we have to basically do that ourselves, try to keep ourselves engaged in some service. So we should try to find some satisfying service, something that keeps us very inspired. It's very important to be enthusiastic. So we need to find some service, like Deepa Mataji, you were very enthusiastic to organize Rath Yatra, and you motivated yourself. There was no one standing over your head, cracking the whip, trying to get you to do that, but you just were motivated yourself to do that, like that. So, and yeah, we all need to find something that inspires us in Krishna consciousness, something that really titillates our mind and senses for Krishna, like that, and engages us in Krishna's service. And so we can pray to Krishna to keep me engaged. Pray to Krishna to keep us engaged in some satisfying service. And this is interesting. So Prabhupada's talked about the senses. So yeah, there's no harm giving the senses what they need, but just we have to be careful giving them more than what they need. And then it talks about the mind. We have to control our mind. That's mentioned. Control the mind. And it's interesting, the first example Prabhupada gives of controlling the mind, because you might wonder, how does this sentence come up from talking about the mind? One should not spend one's time pondering over earning money. So this is related to the mind, that sentence. You shouldn't be, if you're thinking all the time about how to make more and more money, more and more money, more and more money, that means you're not controlling your mind. Because actually, Prabhupada then says that is a misuse of thinking power. So what's a misuse of thinking power? Thinking all the time about making more and more money. That's a misuse of thinking power. So what should we do with our mind? If we shouldn't be thinking about making more and more money, what should we be thinking about? The mind should be used to understand the prime necessity of human beings, and that should be presented authoritatively. So what is the prime necessity of human beings? So what is it?
Food and shelter.
No.
Yeah, that's the primary. You need the basic need.
To serve God?
No, but that's a necessity, but it's not the prime one.
Okay.
So that is a necessity, food and shelter. But what's the prime? The prime necessity. See, every species can get food and shelter, right? The dogs and the cats and the birds and the beasts and everything. But what's the special facility that only a human being has, that no other species has?
They can think and they can read and write.
To know who we are.
Even animals have verbal
Animal
languages.
Animal can't read and write.
Yeah, but they can communicate. But that's just one way of communicating. But there's other ways of communicating. Like when the birds are chirping to each other, what do you think they're doing? They're just babbling nonsense.
Well,
they're communicating with each other.
Human can do bhakti, that animal can't do bhakti.
Yes, that is the difference. So that is the prime necessity for the human being, is to develop our lost relationship with God, to revive our lost relationship with God. And once you revive your lost relationship with God, what's going to happen to you? When the body dies, you're not going to come back here. You're going to go back home, back to God here, and you're going to get out of suffering. You're not going to take birth again and grow old again, get sick again, die again. So that's the prime necessity, to go back home, back to Godhead after reviving our lost relationship with God. So that's what our mind should be used for. Thinking, how can I develop my love for Krishna? How can I go home back to Godhead? Like that. So how can I serve Krishna better? How can I make better gulabs for Krishna? How can I make better kachoris for Krishna? Not for ourselves, but for Krishna. You know, so that's what we should be thinking about. How we can serve Krishna and develop our love for Krishna. And because then he says that the power of thought should be developed in the association of persons who are authorities in the scriptures, saintly persons and spiritual masters, and those whose thinking is highly developed. So that's, we could say, well, how do I develop that higher thinking? And that's through the association of devotees. Because our thinking is all wrong. So how do we change that? We need to change that by associating with people that know how to think properly. People that know how to think. Who knows how to think properly? The spiritual master knows how to think properly. The saintly persons know how to think properly. And their thinking is related to what the scriptures are saying. You know, so whatever the devotees are saying or the guru is saying is coming from the scriptures. So that's how we change our thinking, is through always hearing the scriptures and associating with those persons that are hearing the scriptures. So we spiritualize our mind, our crazy mind. Because we can take it for granted that our mind is only interested in one thing, sense gratification. That's every conditioned soul's mind is wired just for one thing, just for getting more and more sense gratification. More and more money, more and more sex, more and more power, more and more fame, all these kind of things. So we have to reprogram the mind, and that's only going to happen in the association of devotees. You know, like we all learned these things to think about Krishna from Prabhupada. Otherwise, we'd still be lost. We'd still be lost. And then it talks about, so two of the qualities mentioned, happiness and distress. So happiness should always be in that which is favorable for the cultivation of spiritual knowledge of Krishna consciousness. And similarly, that which is painful or which causes distress is that which is unfavorable for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Anything favorable for the development of Krishna consciousness should be accepted, and anything unfavorable should be rejected. So anything that's good for Krishna makes me happy, and anything that's bad for Krishna makes me unhappy. So then that's love. You know, if you love someone, then when they're happy, you feel happy, isn't it? And if the person you love is unhappy, then you're unhappy. So that's what we should. And a materialistic person, all they care about is their own personal happiness, and they're trying to avoid their personal suffering. But a person that is a devotee is very different. They don't care about their own personal happiness and distress. They care about making Krishna happy. You know, like when the gopis heard that Krishna has a headache, then all they cared about was how to remove Krishna's headache. And when they heard that Krishna had told that they need the dust from their feet to put on his head, then they just wanted to give that dust. And even though they were told that if you give the dust of your feet for Krishna's head, you'll have to go to hell. But they said, oh, we don't care. Well, let us go to hell. Let us go to hell, but as long as Krishna's headache is fixed, then that's all that matters. So that's like a devotee's happiness is in Krishna's happiness, and their distress is in Krishna's distress. So that's real love. That's a sign of love that will automatically happen. So if we see that change taking place in ourselves, then that's a good sign. Because in the beginning, you know, like I said, all we care about is our own enjoyment and trying to avoid suffering for ourselves. But later on, as we progress in Krishna consciousness, we should be more, you know, concerned about you know, Krishna's enjoyment. Mm-hmm. It's interesting that today Gianty just gave some news of something not good for the Wellington temple here in New Zealand. One pujari has just one cook has just suddenly said that oh, I'm resigning today and I'm leaving tomorrow. And he's like the main cook in their restaurant. So they're really in a lurch.
Was it a Devhari?
Yeah.
Is it Devhari?
Yeah. So anyway, don't talk about this outside the class. But they're just and suddenly in the lurch. They didn't give them any warning, and their restaurant opens up on the 5th of January. And when I heard that, I was a bit upset that, you know, they're in difficulty. And also there's another devotee that works in the restaurant, and the manager said, well, if Devahari goes, then the other devotee, they'll have to close the restaurant. The other devotee will lose a job. And he's got a family to maintain, everything like that. And also, you know, it's an income source for the temple, and they have to move out of the old temple in a couple of months and moving into a new temple. So it's bad timing for this to happen at the restaurant. And then I immediately thought, well, maybe I can help. Maybe I can help fill the gap and help out at that restaurant for a month or two until they can find someone else. And it's not so quick to import, you know, a cook or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And it actually makes my life a little bit difficult, and it makes Gianty's life even more difficult, like that. But well, if we can help someone else, then maybe it's worth it, you know. So
Yes.
that's sort of in Krishna consciousness. You know, just thinking about your own happiness and distress, but you know, you think about others, you know, about Krishna's devotees, like that. So sometimes you have to put aside your own happiness, even if it gives some distress to us. You know, if we can do some service for Krishna, even though if it's a bit of difficulty for us. And you know, like when we were in, you know, setting up the bhakti tree and then Yugo Caller and that, you know, we were Giant and I were put in distress quite a few times. But if Krishna's happy, well, that's good. That's our happiness. So, and we're not thinking that, oh, I'm suffering. We're happy that, you know, that physically or mentally we might have been suffering, but spiritually we were happy. Does that make sense? That physically or mentally you can be suffering, but spiritually you feel happy. That, you know, if my guru is happy, if Prabhupada's happy, if Krishna's happy, then I'm happy. Even though you haven't had much sleep, you haven't got to eat on time, you know, you're, you know, stressed out or whatever like that. But spiritually you are feeling very ecstatic. Does that make sense? I think one time Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says in one of his songs that if my suffering gives happiness to Krishna, he said, that is my greatest ecstasy. That is my greatest ecstasy. Like that. One time I had an opportunity in Wellington actually to distribute about 2,500 plates of prasadam a day for 2 weeks. And it was about three years ago. And physically and mentally I was smashed because it was hard work. I've never worked so hard in my life. And very austere. I was just sleeping on the floor of the kitchen, struggling to find a place to have a bath, you know, with thousands of people all around me. It was like being in a fishbowl and trying to take a bath like that. and you know, hardly sleeping or anything like that. And when Gianty saw me after 2 weeks, she thought I was just a skeleton like that. And but I've never been so ecstatic in my life. I've never felt
An
so.
ecstatic skeleton.
I was ecstatic skeleton, yeah. And yeah, so physically, mentally, you can be, you know, really miserable, but spiritually, you can be ecstatic. You know, if that gives pleasure to Krishna, then you feel great happiness like that. So it's very interesting. It seems a bit contradictory, but yeah, when you actually experience it, then you know what it is like that. So the main criteria, as Prabhupada says, if it's favorable for the development of Krishna consciousness, it should be accepted. And if it's unfavorable for Krishna consciousness, it should be rejected.
Yeah.
So like if it's unfavorable for me, but it's good for Krishna, favorable for Krishna, that should be accepted. And if it's favorable for me, good for me, but it's unfavorable for Krishna, that should be rejected, given up. So yeah, that's our criteria, whether it's favorable for Krishna or not. If it's good for him, we take it on, even if it's not good for me. And if it's unfavorable for Krishna, even though we'd like to do it, we don't do it. And a good example from the Bhagavad Gita itself is that, was it favorable for Arjuna to fight in the Battle of Kurukshetra? Was it good for Arjuna?
Not good for Arjuna. It's
Not good at all.
Oh.
Because
No.
he has to kill his cousins, kill his uncle, Bhishma, kill his guru. Oh my God. You know, that's
Guru.
heavy duty. So
Yeah.
that's really unfavorable for Arjuna.
But favorable for
to
Krishna.
kill all those. But because it was favorable for Krishna, he did it.
Yeah.
He did it.
But in the end, it was also favorable for Arjuna because he
course.
just transcended
course,
straight.
because-
Of course.
Yeah.
So
Krishna knows.
ultimately, whatever's good for Krishna is ultimately good for us.
Yeah.
But in
Yeah.
the short term, in the immediate term, short term, it might seem really bad for us. Only later on may it become apparently good for us. But in the beginning, sometimes it's not good for us. Like, I'll give you an example. In the beginning of Krishna consciousness, we're told no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. Now, for how many of us is that good for us in the beginning of Krishna consciousness? It's like unfavorable. Oh my God, that's so, you know, for people that have been doing all those things. Of course, if you're a pious Hindu like Jayanti, it's not unfavorable at all because you weren't doing any of those things. But for a Westerner, it's like all the things that we love, you know, we have to give up. So it seems like it's unfavorable, but we do it. Why do we do it? Because it's favorable for Krishna. Because it's favorable for Krishna, we give up all the things that we like. Give up all the things that we like. And so we give up the things that we like and we do what Krishna likes, like chant 16 rounds a day. And that's something also that we might not like. You know, in the very beginning, not many of us like to spend 2 hours a day chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You know, we might not like that, but because Krishna likes it, we do it. So it's not a consideration in Krishna consciousness what you like and what you don't like. The consideration is what Krishna likes and what Krishna doesn't like. If Krishna likes it, even though I don't like it, well, then I'm going to like it. You know what I'm saying? So actually, like it's saying, one of the criteria of a chaste wife, there's 4 principles of a chaste wife. One is, let's see, I should ask Jayanti if she can remember. And
That are
then
duties of the wife.
the
no?
duties of a wife, 4
Yeah.
duties, yeah. One
To
of
be
them is,
favorable to the husband,
yeah, you have to be favorable to the husband.
and then follow his on no what follow what No, then you have to be favorable to his friends.
Yeah, this is my point. That one of the principles is not only you be favorable to the husband,
but you have
but
to
you
be
have to be favorable to
his
all the friends of the husband.
and
It means like even this person is my enemy, but if they're a friend of my husband, they're my friend. Isn't that far out? Isn't that far
That's
out?
a surrender.
That's surrender.
yeah.
Even though this person is my enemy, but if they're the friend of my husband, they're my friend.
If you're my husband, you won't be his friend.
Yeah.
That's a Kali Yuga version.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so this is the same principle. That's the same principle. That's a completely paradigm shift, a change of thinking, way we think. Because we're all egocentric in material consciousness, where it's all centered around me.
And then in Kali Yuga, they'll come in and say, hey, yeah, you have to follow the 4 duties of a chaste wife.
And then, but in Krishna consciousness, we learn we're not in the center anymore. Krishna's in the center. So it's all revolving around Krishna, what he likes, what he doesn't like. Our life revolves around him, not that Krishna and everyone else revolves around me. And it doesn't work. Like most other religions, I'll tell you what, most religions, it's the same principle that everything revolves around me. Like what do most religions do? God, give me this. God, give me that. God, get rid of him for me. God, get rid of them. Get rid of my enemies. It's still revolving around me. And you put God in that same mentality that everything's revolving around me. God, do this for me. God, do this for me. Get rid of him. Help me make more money. Get rid of my enemies. Blah, blah, blah. So it's the same mentality, but real, true Krishna consciousness is that we just do what Krishna wants, even if we don't like it, and we avoid things that we like to do if Krishna doesn't want, like that. Now Jayanti's trying to remember her 4 principles.
Follow the vows of the husband.
Yeah, to follow the vow of the husband. Like my vow is to live a simple life. So Jayanti's following that simple life.
Screaming and
yelling, but still living in a river.
Kicking. No, what is it saying? Kicking and screaming.
Kicking and screaming.
Just I mean, in Krishna would want I mean, the for Krishna consciousness, or to spread the word for more, isn't that so? Like for more temples, or I don't know whether it's temples, but that there is more propagation of the knowledge and things like that, and all that. I mean, for me, I just a little bit struggling about this, where you pointed out about and it's said here to unnecessarily worry the mind about money and things like that, but
money for who? Money for who? That's the point, is who there's the money for.
But yeah, so like in doing this kind of service, like to propagate the word of Krishna, or to make to provide for to be able to contribute and provide, then and the way the world is now, whether it's actually man-made or however, anyway, it's come about, but it is kind of all run on based on money, funds, and things like that. So then there is, so so like
so like it said about controlling the senses, that there's no prohibition against meeting the proper needs of the senses, but unnecessary sense enjoyment is detrimental for spiritual advancement. So same with money. There's no harm in getting as much money as you need to maintain your family, your body and your family. But the prohibition is when you're just making more money than what you require for your basic needs.
But then when you're
But
able
as
to,
our basic needs,
oh,
you know, your house you live in plus 2 rental properties and 4 the newest model cars and the newest model mobile phones and
thinking of money all the time.
not.
You did.
I'm not. I'm not. You know.
no, it's only
So
because I asked a question.
Yeah, thank you for asking the question.
yeah.
But
So
he's always saying
thinking about making the money you need to survive, there's no problem with that. But you know, like one reporter asked the richest man in the world back in time, called John Paul Getty, "What do you think about when you're all alone?" So this is his thinking. So what he answered was, "I think about how to make more and more money."
Mm.
So what, he's already the richest man in the world. Why is he thinking about money? Because it's unnecessary. You know, that's a misuse, like Prabhupada said, a misuse of his thinking power. He doesn't actually need money anymore, but he's still thinking about it because he doesn't know what he should be thinking about, which is, like I said, going back to Godhead, developing his relationship with Krishna. So he's wasted his valuable human life, you know, just running after what the animals have, you know.
Actually, but
So
just sorry on this. I mean, in my whatever stuff that I also read or that I hear and know about, like a lot of what I'm finding is a lot of these very rich people are actually quite spiritual in their, that they are very God conscious and they have all this gratitude.
All of them? Some of them, not all of them.
Many of them
Many?
do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they do say that. So like in some of the things that even I listen to or that I that I have listened to, and they do say, like, it doesn't just come out of thin air. I mean, to that, along those lines, that you have, there is gratitude. They do express gratitude to, and to know that it's all coming, that's a higher power. I mean, they talk like in terms like that.
yeah. Well, in
So
many cases, the reason why they are so rich is because they have some pious credits from previous
uh,
lives. So because of that piety, they've got an opportunity to be rich again and like so forth like that. But sometimes it gets misused. Sometimes it gets misused. So it's not automatic that because you're a rich person that you're going to be thinking about God. But yeah, it does give you an opportunity. If what it really should do is that if you are very rich, then you really don't have to work very much. You can spend more time thinking about God. But that doesn't often happen like that. Sometimes, like that richest man in the world, he's just thinking more and more how to make more and more money. So, but if he wanted to, he could just go and live in a holy place. He could live in Vrindavan. He doesn't need money anymore. He could live in Vrindavan. But why he doesn't do that? Why doesn't he go and live in Mayapur, or Vrindavan, or Jagannath Puri? He continues just running after money, even though he doesn't need it. So that's sinful.
You know why is that? If you entire your life you are chasing money, end of the life you cannot go to Vrindavan. No way. You cannot. Because whatever you're doing in your life, at the end you'll do the same thing. You're doing the spirituality all your life, at the end, yes, you will go to Vrindavan. But entire your life you build up a big empire for this. When you gotta get 70, all of a sudden you can switch off and go to Vrindavan. Not possible.
So in that case, the person's entangled. They're entangled, like this, like the fly in the spider web, or the fish in the net. We're just tied up. So
whatever you're seeding the plants in the whole life, at the end, that's when you gotta cut. If you're seeding the plant for a lemon, at the end of the life, you're not gonna cut mango out of it. You'll cut the lemon. Simple.
yeah.
The whole entire life, you make industries, your house, your investment property, portfolio, and all of a sudden Saturdays, when it comes to 70, it's okay. I'll go to Kashi, Vrindavan, or something. No, not possible.
Yeah. So the recommendation is you just do your duty. You put in your 8 hours a day, you work or whatever you have to do to maintain your family, and that's it. Then the rest of the time, whatever you can, you spend on your Krishna consciousness your spiritual development. Just, don't push it too hard, 8 hours becomes then 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day. And then even when you finish your job, you're still thinking about your job. No, you should cut off. As soon as you leave your office or factory or whatever, you have to cut off from that. And then you're thinking about your Krishna consciousness and everything like that. But a lot of people, even if they leave the work, but they take the work with them in their mind, they can't switch off, so that's not good either.
One of my friends, I'm staying at the moment in the city. His wife is went overseas, and his son, he's alone. He said, you can live in one of the rooms. So I'm staying in his room, and then he's a police officer. He said, I cannot switch it off. 5:30, 6 o'clock when I come.
But if not for that police officer friend, where would you be staying? If he doesn't have a house himself, in his car, is it? Or in your whose car?
No. All day he was catching the crooks. I'm dealing with the junkies and the blood and the knife all day. When I come home, I cannot switch it off. And then he ended up with going to the antidepressant drugs because he says, I don't know, I'm dealing all day with this crook, and then by 5:30 finish the job. I can't. When he comes to the dinner table, still thinking about that. He's telling me about such and such person. I said, you gotta go back to work tomorrow. He can't. He's trouble sleeping as well. And then, oh my God, a few of them I know, police officers, they just finished early, medical retirement. We can't just switch it off when you're dealing all day with like that. Same thing happened in a shopkeeper. He's got a shop. All day he's running the shop. By the time he got home, he's talking to his wife about the shop as well. When can I put the new stock in the shop as well? Maybe you dream about that I can maintain the shop that well. This is the thing. So I'm just doing a reading of Bhagavad Gita. On my dream, last night I dreamed about it. One of my Western friends, he brings that up, Hanuman deity. And he said, look, I'll bring that Indian god. And I said, look, you didn't bring the Hanuman. You bring the god home. Which path did you bring that? Did you clean that path? Did you put the flower on the path? He said, no. He said, you have to clean the path. I was just yelling at him. You have to clean the path before you bring the deity home. Which path? He said, this is the doorway I came. I'm trying to clean the path, put in the flower in there, put some in that path. And then he said, why are you doing? I said, you bring the deity. Because whatever you're doing during the day, night time, you dream about the same.
Wow.
Nice. They maybe dream about that. Shopkeeper dreaming about that. How do I maintain my shop better? How do I put more stock? I just like that. That's so funny. But it's life. Whatever you're doing during the day, you must be dreaming about how can I improve my farming skill? Because you do farming. Yeah, that's the life, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever you can during the day, if you think about it, if you can't fulfill that, it comes in a dream. Yeah, well, that's the life, I guess. I'm a beginner.
The idea is, we need to control our mind and senses so that we can, engage the mind and senses in serving Krishna. That's how they get purified. It's like how do we control the senses? Like the tongue is the most important sense. How do we control that? You connect the tongue with Krishna by having Krishna prasadam. How do you, purify the ears? The ears want to hear things. So you hear about Krishna, like now we're hearing from the Bhagavad Gita, like that. And the tongue also, another thing it does is make some noise. So, you make some noise related to Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, talking about Krishna. So that's how, and, how do you purify the mind? We should be thinking about Krishna. What can we cook for Krishna today? Well, what flowers can we pick to decorate the altar, and make some garland for Krishna like that? How can we bring more people to Krishna? How can we bring more people to the bhakti tree or to the temple or like that, to Krishna consciousness and like that, so that's how we purify our thinking like that. So this is what we're learning, how to purify our mind and senses. Okay, let's read another one. Baba.
You want me to read it?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Ava. A birth should be understood to refer to the body. As far as the soul is concerned, there is neither birth nor death that we have discussed in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. Birth and death apply to one's embodiment in the material world. Fear is due to worrying about the future. A person in Krishna consciousness has got no fear because by his activities, he is sure to go back to spiritual sky, back home, back to Godhead. Therefore, his future is very bright. Others, however, do not know what the future holds. They have no knowledge of what the next life holds. So they are therefore in constant anxiety. If we want to get free from the anxiety, then the best course is to understand the Krishna and be situated always in Krishna consciousness. In that way, we will be free from all fear. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it states that I am Divya Bhami, which was there. Fear is caused by our absorption in the illusory energy. But those who are free from the illusory energy, those who are confident that they are not the material body, that they are spiritual part of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who are therefore engaged in the transcendental service of Supreme Godhead, have nothing to fear. Their future is very bright. This fear is condition of persons who are not in Krishna consciousness. Abhayam. Well, if we take the M out of it, that'll be your name. Fearlessness. Fearlessness is possible only for one in Krishna consciousness. You know, I tell everyone there, this is the drug-free solution. This is. You got a solution with the drugs, you eat that with the pharmaceutical. This is a drug-free solution.
Yeah.
Gita.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's a good way of presenting it. So this is very important, you know, birth and death and fear and fearlessness. So this is the main fear that people have, is the fear of death. But birth and death only affect the body. Only the body takes birth, only the body dies. For the soul,
But
there is neither birth nor death.
But I asked somebody feared that. I said, who's really died? The soul never died, never drowned, never been cut. Who's died then? The body is already dead anyway. It's a five element. It's back to the element, five back to the earth. You know? But who's dying? Nothing.
Yeah. So this knowledge that we're not the body, that we're a spirit soul, frees us from the fear of death, the fear of growing old, of getting sick and so forth like that. And even if you're Krishna conscious, there's no fear that you're going to have to take birth again. Because like Prabhupada said, you know, for a person that's Krishna conscious, has no fear, because by his activities, he is sure, by his activities, he is sure to go back to the spiritual sky, coming back to Godhead. Therefore, his future is very bright. Others, however, do not know what their future holds. Like that. So then they're going to be afraid. They're going to be in anxiety. But actually a devotee has nothing to worry about, nothing to be afraid of, because as long as our activities are for Krishna's pleasure, then we're sure to go back to Godhead.
But at the same time, Prabhupada also says that you have to be very serious, because you have to be very cautious, and because death can come anytime, and you have to be really very serious. And
definitely.
It's on the way. It can be anytime. It's on the way. It's coming anytime.
Sure. But we don't have to be afraid about when it's going to come, how it's going to come. We leave everything. Prabhupada mentions the devotee leaves everything in Krishna's hands.
Yeah.
We're like that baby in the hands of the parent, you know, and we have faith that the parent is going to take care of us. And they're not like a modern parent that might leave us in the locker. You know, Krishna's the ultimate parent. You know, they only care about our ultimate happiness, our ultimate welfare. So we can have complete faith that Krishna will maintain me, Krishna will protect me. All I have to do is surrender my activities to him. and then he's going to bring me back home, back to Godhead. So like
But
Prabhupada said, therefore his future is very bright. So, you know, a devotee should be very enthusiastic. This is our last birth in the material world. We're going back home, back to Godhead. All we have to do while we're waiting to go back home, back to Godhead, is to maintain our Krishna consciousness and try to help others. If we can, try to help others also to make this their last birth. We shouldn't only be, oh, it's my last birth, I don't give a stuff about you guys. No, that's not the way a devotee thinks. A devotee is very compassionate. Think that I want to bring as many of my brothers and sisters back home, back to Godhead with me as I can on my way back to Godhead. I'll take as many as I can. And that was the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. That's the mood of all great devotees, and the mood of Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like that. Try to bring as many others back home, back to
there
Godhead
was
as
that
possible.
devotee who said that I'll stay here but send all the others back.
Vasudev Dutt.
Yeah, what's the
Yeah.
But then
And that was the mood of Jesus, and even in other traditions and so forth. You know, always a devotee, a saintly person, a sadhu is very compassionate towards others. Actually, the only cause of anxiety for a devotee, he doesn't have any personal anxiety. It's only an anxiety about others. Now, you guys are like rotting in the material world in Maya and illusion. I got to figure out a way how to help you go back to Godhead. So, you know, they're always, you know, just if they have any worry, it's only worried about others, because of being ignorant of Krishna consciousness, they're suffering so much in Maya. You know, how can I help them, you know, to get free from Maya like that? Otherwise, a devotee's life is easy. But a little bit troublesome is because we're trying to help other people. So like us, you know, we could live a very simple life here, no problem at all. But we're trying to develop this place into like a center for people to come and get some alternative kind of education and Christian consciousness. So we're taking some trouble to make some cabins and facilities, and it
and so
requires
that's why I worry about
money.
money.
And so Johnny's worried about money, how we're going to get the money for those places and stuff like that. For ourselves, we don't need to do any of that. But to help other people, you know, it's a bit of work required and so forth like that. But that's the sacrifice a devotee makes to try to, you know, help other people in Krishna consciousness. And we do that because that's what Krishna wants. Like I said, we know what's Krishna's favorable, what's favorable to Krishna, we do that. So what does Krishna want? Krishna wants his souls that are part and parcel of him suffering in the material world. He wants them to come back home, back to Godhead. So the devotee knows what's in Krishna's heart. What's in Krishna's heart is that Krishna's unhappy that the souls are suffering in the material world. So the advanced devotee knows that. Let me try to help relieve Krishna's anxiety. Prabhupada one time in a lecture explained that Krishna feels the suffering of the soul in the material world just like a pin. If it was stuck in your finger, the whole body feels that. The whole body feels that, right? You know, the pin is just poked into your small finger. But that pain in the small finger is felt by the whole body. So the analogy is we're like that small finger with a pin in it, suffering. And Krishna is the whole body. But the whole body feels that pinprick. Does that make sense? The whole body feels that pinprick. So if we can help remove that pinprick, isn't that a good service? Isn't that a good service? If you can remove that pinprick from Krishna's body, isn't that a good service? You know, so to try to, you know, help these suffering souls to give up their nonsense and come back to Godhead is a great service. And therefore we can read that in the 18th chapter, text 68. And 69.
For one one who explained this supreme secret to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me.
And the next one.
On, there is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear.
So nothing makes Krishna more happy than explaining this knowledge of devotional service to others.
Speaking of which, just to let, I have been asked by a friend, she's an old family friend, if I would speak at an interfaith. There's an interfaith something that's coming on the 15th of the month. They have it every month anyway. So she asked if I would speak. We were just having a conversation about spirituality, and she was very taken by what I was saying, and she asked if I would, and she checked with, and so I'm scheduled to speak on the 15th.
Wonderful.
On it's an online thing. Just letting you know, nothing I said nothing advanced, but just the basic fundamentals. I mean, who are we? Why are we here? What is our purpose here? That sort of thing, just basic.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All the best. Yeah, it's a good opportunity. Yeah, plant the seed of Krishna consciousness in them. Okay, let's continue on. The next one, ahimsa.
Oh, non-violent. Okay. Ahimsa. Non-violence means that one should not do anything which will put others into misery or confusion. Material activities that are promised by so many politicians, sociologists, philosophists, etc., do not produce very good results because the politician and philosophist has no transcendental vision. They do not know what is actually beneficial for human society. Ahimsa means that people should be trained to such a way that the full utilization of the human body can be achieved. The human body is meant for spiritual realization. So any moment or any commission which do not further that end commit violence on the human body. That which furthers the future spiritual happiness of the people in general is called non-violence.
So this is an interesting definition of non-violence Prabhupada gives. He's saying that any person or group that's just helping people to advance materially is actually committing non-violence. If they're not helping people to progress spiritually, only materially. Philanthropist means like welfare workers. So even like you just think you're going to help the society by building hospitals and schools, building schools and hospitals, that's called a philanthropist, does that kind of stuff. But that's actually violence. That's actually violence. Because you're only working towards the bodily requirements, but you're not doing anything for the spiritual requirement. That's actually violence. Only when you help the soul to advance spiritually, that's non-violence. Anything else, you need some political objective or a health objective, welfare objective, whatever like that. But if it's not for the soul, then that's actually violence, according to this. So not only violence means, if you kill someone's body, but also if you're not helping the soul to advance, if you're keeping the soul down in ignorance. Like all modern education is turning people that believe in God into atheists, isn't it? A lot of kids, innocent kids, might start school believing in God, But I guarantee by the time they finish a modern education up to the university level, they're not going to believe in God anymore. Because they believe in what the scientists say, that, you know, it's just every life comes from chemicals, and it all started from a big bang and we evolved from monkeys and so forth. They don't believe in God, you know, and I have personal experience of that. At that system, and knowing people that have gone through that system. The longer they go through the modern education, the less they believe in God. You know, they become completely atheistic 99.9% of the time. So that's committing violence to those souls, you know, putting them further away from God like that. Or just helping the body, or trying to help the body. Even helping the body is not possible because it's going to die today or tomorrow anyway. But even thinking that you're helping the body, that's committing violence. You haven't done anything to help the soul to not come back again after death. You haven't done anything to help to stop that process of birth and death. So that's violence. So it's an interesting definition. Mostly we think violence and non-violence relates to if you're not hurting the body, that's non-violence, and you're hurting the body, that's violence. But this is a different definition. The definition is you're keeping the soul down or away from Krishna consciousness going back to Godhead, then that is violence. And anything that's helping the soul to get closer to Krishna consciousness going back to Godhead, that's non-violence. So it's more in the definition is more in regards to what is the effect on the soul, not what is the effect on the body. So the definition we're used to is the effect on the body, whether it's violence or non-violence. But no, this Vedic definition is what effect it's having on the soul. Is the soul getting closer to going back to Godhead? That's non-violence. Is the soul getting further away from going back to Godhead? That's violence, like that. So in modern society, there's a lot of violence to the soul. And the souls are kept down, you know, away from going back to Godhead.
They don't even know their violence because they don't believe in the, you know, like a reincarnation or.
Yeah, they don't even believe in the soul,
Yeah,
so
they
that's
don't believe,
so
so
much
that's
violence.
why, so they don't know, yeah. So they think there's only
Yeah.
one life. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they believe in one life, how they can teach them to the
Yeah.
students?
Yeah.
Because what they
So
believe,
even
that's what they're gonna teach them.
yeah. So even if parents don't educate their children that they're a spirit soul and they have a relationship with God, that's violence to the children, like that. So it's not just whether you're killing animals or not is violence or not. No, this is a lot bigger definition than that. Or if the politicians are not educating the citizens in their country to become dutiful in serving God, then they're committing violence to the citizens. Or if the guru doesn't educate his disciples to go back home, back to Godhead, you know, if he's just collecting the guru dakshina, you know, getting respect or whatever, but not educating them properly, then he's committing violence to his disciples, like that. So yeah, this is a much a different definition of what's violent and not than the one we usually think of. Therefore, in previously when there was kings, if there was someone committed murder, the king would execute the murder on the spot. And was that violence or non-violence?
Non.
Jointy said non-violence.
Non-violence.
Non-violence. Why?
Because the Manu Samhita says.
Jointy said because the Manu Samhita says. But the reason why the Manu Samhita said that is because
You're protecting the soul from suffering further.
Yeah, you're protecting the soul from suffering further because the person killed another person. So if he's not killed after he dies from being in prison or whatever like that, after he dies, he's going to have to go down into hell and suffer a lot. And he's not going to get that human form of life and opportunity to go progress upwards again for a very long time. So you're slowing down his progress to going back to Godhead. But when if the murderer is killed by the king, then that sin he committed is neutralized. He took a life, he's given his own life. So that sin is neutralized, and then he can take birth again and progress on from where he left off. So straight away he can progress on. But if he's not killed, it takes a lot longer because he has to spend time in hell, be punished, and then like that person that he killed will take birth again and such and have an opportunity to kill him as well. So it's all complicated, very slow, takes time. So that soul's progress to going back to Godhead is slowed down a lot. It's better to speed it up, just kill him, and then he can continue on. So actually for the king to execute the murderer is non-violence, and to not kill him is violence. To not kill him is violence, like that. So it's interesting. So it's all in regards to what effect does what you're doing have on the soul? Is it helping the soul go back to Godhead, or is it slowing down its progress back to Godhead? That's what it is about. That's what it's about. Okay. We've nearly up, but let's read one more.
One more?
Samatha.
Inequanimity refers to a freedom from the attachment and aversion.
Yeah.
To be very much attached to or to very much detached to is not the best. The material world should be accepted without attachment or aversion. That which is favorable for prosecuting Krishna consciousness should be accepted. That which is unfavorable should be rejected. This is called samatha, equanimity. A person in Krishna consciousness has nothing to reject and nothing to accept save in terms of its usefulness in prosecution of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah. So sama means equal. So we should be very equal, equanimity. So aversion means hatred. Also, another word for aversion is hatred. So we shouldn't really like something in the material world, or we shouldn't dislike anything. I love this, I hate this. And that's normally we have that very dualistic view of the world. We go from one extreme to the other. I love this, I hate this. I like you, I don't like you. I want this, I don't want this. And that's the mental platform. And the mind goes from this one extreme to the other of I like, I don't like, I love, I hate. This is on the mental platform. But a devotee has to learn to rise above the mental platform and control the mind. So all this, that I like, I don't like, I love, I hate, that's all happening on the mental platform. But a devotee has to come to the transcendental platform and learn to control the mind. And why do we have to do that? What's the problem with loving something or hating something or liking something, disliking something? The problem is that whatever you're attached to or whatever you're repulsed by or hate, you're going to be thinking about it. You're going to be thinking about it. And whatever you're thinking about it, that's what you're going to become in your next life. So that's like locking the soul into the material world to keep on reincarnating. Like Prabhupada said, if the Muslim dies hating the Hindu, he's going to become a Hindu, and the Hindu dies hating the Muslim, is going to become a Muslim. So that hatred or aversion, that's what was the cause of them coming back again, why they had to stay in the material world, you know. And the other side too, you know.
Even love as well come back, like, you know.
Of course. You know, because the man loves a woman, so the next birth is a woman. So the man who loves a woman, he takes birth as a woman, and the woman loves a man, then she takes birth as a man. So that's locking them into the material world again and again and again. You know, because of that. We have Dhruva Maharaj, he became attached to a deer. So Dhruva Maharaj became attached to this. So what was he thinking about when he died? He was thinking about the deer. And because he was thinking about it, then that's what he became in his next life. So that's the problem with anything that we are attached to or we hate, is that you're going to be thinking about it. Whatever you're attached to, you're thinking about it. And then whatever you're thinking about it, that's what you're going to become. And that's what keeps you in the material world. What we want to do, we want to become attached to Krishna. And then you're going to be thinking about Krishna. And then you're going to go to Krishna. You know, so we want to change that from a material attachment to spiritual attachment. Or you're thinking about Prabhupada, you know, so then you're attached to Prabhupada, you think about Prabhupada, then you're going to go same place to the spiritual world. So you've got to, instead of having a material love, you've got to make it a spiritual love, you know, from a material attachment to a spiritual attachment. And well, you can say, does that mean we can't love anyone in the material world? You can, but you should love the soul, not just their body. You know, do you love the person's shirt, or do you love the person?
Person. Because
yeah. So, and do you love their skin, or do you love the soul? You know, so what is it you love about, you know, your partner, your kids, your parents, or whatever is to their body? No, you want to love their soul, that they have a relationship with Krishna, that they're reminding you about Krishna or whatever like that, or Krishna loves them and like that. So what is it about them that you're attached to? You have to think about that very carefully. So, you know, Queen Kunti prayed to Krishna, please sever my attachment for my sons, the Pandavas. You know, so why is she praying for Krishna to cut off her attachment for her children? Because it's a bodily attachment. Because my children, it's material. It's based on the body, that she's the mother and that these are her children. But she didn't say cut off her attachment to them as devotees, because they're great devotees of Krishna. So, you know, to be attached to great devotees of Krishna, is that bad? No, that's very good. But, you know, to be attached to them as a bodily relationship, that these are my children, you know, then that's not good. That consciousness is not good. So, yeah, we just need to change what are we thinking about? Is it just in relation to the body, or is it in relation to Krishna? If your attachment is in relationship to Krishna, that's good. But if your attachment is just in relationship to the body, what's that about? That's the same as the animals have that. You know, that's not progressive. That's going to cause us to take birth again like that. And there was one Princess Devahudi. She was married to a great sage called Kardama. Kardama was a great saintly person. And then at a certain point, he left. He renounced the family to focus on his spiritual advancement, and left her in the care of her son, Kapila, who was an incarnation of God. And she, after her husband left, she lamented. Now, what's interesting is, and it's often that women lament, or that people lament, but that's not surprising. But what's surprising was why she was lamenting. The cause of her lamentation was that I was married to a great devotee, but I never saw him as a devotee when I was living with him. I was just seeing as my husband. This is just my husband who's maintaining me and fulfilling my sense gratification and everything like that. But I never really appreciated him as a great devotee. And now she was lamenting that I don't have that anymore. Now I don't have that association with that great devotee like that. So that was interesting, you know. So what is the relationship based on? Is it the body or is it the soul? You know, so we should try to make it more of a spiritual relationship rather than material. So yeah, we want to cut off from those materially based attachments like that. You know, and if you're going to hate something, well, hate something that's also in relationship to Krishna, like Hanuman. Hanuman hated Ravana's guts.
Yeah.
Was that good or bad?
It's good because he
good.
loved Rama.
He had a real aversion for Ravana. He had a real aversion, real hatred. But is that unfavorable? No, it was good.
Favorable, yeah.
Because, you know, you rascal stole my Lord's wife. You rascal. I'm going to do your head in, mate.
You know
so that's good.
When he went there to Lanka to have a message from Lord Rama, he could take Sita on his shoulder. Nobody can stop him. He was, you know, it's like what do you call that? Pavan Putra in Vayu. And no one can stop him. But he says, I haven't got the instruction from my Lord. I'm just here to give it a message. Otherwise, I would have to take you, sit on my shoulder. No one can stop me. Ravana, no one. But he said, no, I haven't got instruction to do that. Only instruction for Lord Rama to give you a message. That's why he was so powerful. And, well.
So this is the samatha, you know, that personally I don't have any likes or dislikes. Personally, I don't have. Nothing I like, nothing I dislike. But it's all in relation with the Lord. The Lord likes this, I like that. The Lord hates this, I hate this. You know, the Lord doesn't like this, I don't like this, you know. You know, it's not that we, you know, even if Krishna said for us to eat meat, okay, we'll eat meat. But, you know, Krishna doesn't want us to eat meat, so we don't eat it, you know. So like that. It's not that we, you know, hate meat or anything like that. But no, Krishna doesn't want us to eat meat, so we're not going to eat it like that. So it's just a different paradigm, a different way of seeing things, you know.
Yeah.
And that's because we're developing our love for Krishna. If you love someone, you do, you know, what they want, and whatever they don't want, and you don't do it. You know, it's very simple. We don't have any personal likes and dislikes anymore once we come to that platform of love. And we might not be on that platform, but we're trying to get on that platform. So this is how we're practicing. That was how we're practicing being just like someone that loved Krishna. So it's said that imitation of a good thing is a good thing, isn't it? So we're imitating someone like Arjuna or Kunti or Radharani that loves Krishna, that, you know, that only, you know, that's their only concern is what Krishna likes and what Krishna doesn't like. So we're trying to practice that. So lovely to be with you both again.
Thank you. We shall see
Thanks
you
very
next
much.
week.
All the best for
Krishna.
your new year.
Oh, same to you.
Same to you.
And hope Jayanti's worries are lessened.